What's going on, YouTube? This is the Last Musketeer here. Welcome you to the next part 4 of 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross free-to-play Is It Worth It series. So we're starting out this week at episode 103, which is where we left off on the last one. And I know I probably say this in every video, but the art style and the animation of this game is just so good. It's so crisp. And it's more interactive than I would expect from a normal mobile game. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't put a damper on how much time it's going to take to clear some of the content, because especially if you haven't seen the anime or you just want to relive it through the game itself and you're watching all the story, you're going to invest a lot of time moving through here. Now, if you do know the story and you just figure you want to skip it, that's perfectly fine too. But I do recommend watching the story again. I do a lot of skipping just because I've seen the anime twice. I know exactly what goes on. I'm a big fan of the series in general, so I generally skip it just to save time, because all in all, like I'm saying, this game itself is a big time investment. Not that that's a bad thing, because it is engaging gameplay. It's just you're going to have to really put in a lot of time, unless you're probably towards more in-game, but I'm not sure that I will make to that point by the end of the series, because I only have one more week. Now, I'll try to push as far as I can to see what is available towards the end, at least for content clearing, and how many gems I can still make up as I'm going through, because right now I have so many pieces I can go back and do, especially completing the early chapters for the 30 gems that you get when you do the 100% chapter clear. But those ones take a little bit longer because you're doing a lot of quests for people in town. Now, I've noticed that I think starting at chapter 7, 8, and 9, I believe, all through just clearing the story, I did the 100% chapter, so there was no side quest involved, just main quest, which was really nice. Probably would have been nice if they did it on the early ones, because that gives you more options for pulls early on. But as far as the banners go, it seems like I always have a good amount to try to pull. Now, I'm not going to try to pull on everything that I do, but at least in the sense of knowing that a banner's coming up, I could always save everything that I get from doing these chapter clears to guarantee something. Now, as a free-to-play, I don't know how likely you are to, say, if I complete this Purgatory Meliodas banner with the guaranteed summon at the end, if I would want to go back through it to try to get another one. I don't know that that's a viable option, especially not for a free-to-play. That seems like more of a whale territory, but the good thing about that, as far as I know, when you upgrade or get a dupe of a unit, that card is used to upgrade the ultimate ability. I don't think it adds personal stats, it just upgrades how much the damage of the ultimate does, which can be useful, especially in PvP if you're going to get somebody that has like a maxed out Meliodas, for instance, and could do a max level ulti. It's going to be stronger than yours, obviously, but I think PvP is more based around trying to outplay enemies with the ultimate gauge, using your options for limiting how often they can use an ultimate, and, you know, obviously beating the team down is the main priority, but there's ways, I think, around playing with people that have maxed out characters. And I think, for the most part, this game does a really good job of allowing you to get a lot of these heroes, except for ones that recently come out. So if you miss their banner, I don't know how long it takes before the next banner of that sort comes around. But it also leads me into a thing I talked about in the last video, which is power creep. So when it comes down to what they release as they're following through the story, it makes sense story-wise that the versions of the characters that come out later in the anime, such as Purgatory Meliodas, is going to be stronger than the first form, but that could lead to some massive power creep where you might have just got a really good hero that works in a really good lineup, got them all set up, and then some hero comes out that may be a counter to a team that just became meta. So in that case, it does worry me a little bit about how much time you're going to have to put in to guarantee that you pull the new hero on a banner, though I have talked to people in the comments that say that they've never really missed a banner, at least not an important one. So I think even as a free-to-play, there's plenty of options for getting them basically guaranteed every time if you're putting the time in each day. Now, I don't know how much time that is in particular, but for me right now, I'm getting gems left and right, so I'm doing a lot of summons, and I try to show them every time. Sometimes I might leave them out if they have really bad pulls. But overall, the point I'm trying to get across is that you're gonna have options for this. Now, one thing I don't know that I've talked about before is the coin shop. Now, why the coin shop is important is because while you're getting all these rares and your SRs out of the summons, and especially when you get the dupes of the SSR, those coins are translated into ones you can spend here. Now, you can also level up a hero's ultimate, so probably for the stronger heroes, or if you're going for max ultimates on some of your lower heroes just for collecting's sake, you'll want to spend them first. But all the extras you can use here to buy a lot of different items. Now, there's a ton of evolution materials. You can buy some pieces for gear. You can also buy heroes themselves. Now, I don't know the difference between the event shop heroes so much as the regular coin shop heroes, or if they rotate, how they do it exactly. I would imagine, though, that the event ones are the more meta units, or at least maybe the ones that are coming from limited banners, something of that sort. So the coins that you use to purchase the event heroes seem to be the ones that are the hardest to get, and I'm not exactly sure how to get those, because you'll see on the top left there's two of the rainbow coins. They're facing like different directions. The one on the far left, I have one of them. You have to have 3 to purchase some of these heroes, and I think they are the ones that are just a lot better overall in content. That could be wrong. They could just be limited ones. Somebody will probably have to tell me in the comments if you know what the difference is between the two, or if it's worth spending on the regular coins to get the heroes, aside from a collection sake, because anybody that's collecting, of course, is going to go for something like that. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, because I find it important for the reward's sake, is the events tower trials. So if you play a lot of other gacha games, or you've had similar experiences to something like this, this system is set up based on floor by floor. So you'll start at floor 1 and you work your way up to whatever the max is, with the difficulty scaling, of course, per level. The important thing is that this gives really good rewards. I think all of the high evolution materials and the books, things that are harder to get, are generally always going to be found in the events that they give. So it's not like they're just throwing things out and the scaling of the resources that you grab from them are low. They do a good job. They are very generous about allowing people to get what they need. Now, sometimes you're going to have to put in a little more work for it, maybe have a better lineup when it comes to like boss battles, so that you have counters, good options for that to build up as much score as you can. But just through general play and putting the time in, as long as you love the game, you're going to be able to get whatever you need, basically. Skins are still something that I'm unsure of, but as everything else goes, I think they do a great job. Now, we made a little more progress on the Hero's Way. I haven't been putting much focus on this. There are some things that I really do need on this, but I'll, at the same time, don't need to put forth extra effort towards it. And as you can see, we've just finished another chapter, Chapter 8, to get another 30 free gems. Now, story-wise, I didn't progress all that far. I had a lot more limited time during this, and of course, playing through the story, I wasn't skipping quite as much because I was enjoying where we were at. I always loved the Ten Commandments storyline, so I had been watching a lot more just to get back into it. And this is where the introduction to Escanor comes in, and of course I had to beat Galen with the strongest version of Escanor just for the sake of doing it. And we also finished the 900 pulls and got a second Purgatory Meliodas, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you level up their ultimate. But you can see each one goes up to 6. The only difference is it starts at 500, and at max level, it's 750% damage instead of 500. So really, you're just getting an increase of damage. It is a big increase, yes, but I think a lot of the time that's kind of more trivial. Not many times right now, at least, do my fights ever go to the point that I need that. I'm sure a lot later I'm going to have to use it more often in fights, but it's not really going to make a difference. If you've got a good team, chances are you're going to be fine regardless. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like for the training grotto, and we've already selected the one that I'm going to do. It's not the highest level one, it's the second highest level one. I was unsure of whether I should do the highest one because it wants you to have a certain amount of power to be able to auto run it. So I figured I'd try this one. I guess I still wasn't enough to auto run, but either way, I went ahead and did it. It was very easy at this level. I'm just using my same team that I generally use for everything. Halloween Gauther for the skill rank up for Purgatory Meliodas, while he basically one-turns the boss pretty much every time. That's how most of the fights go. Goddess Elizabeth is there if I need a stun for a hero, or if I need to put a shield on for a little more survivability, because sometimes that will make a difference in a fight, though I will say Purgatory Meliodas really never goes down unless it's an extremely hard-hitting attack. So this is a cool one I liked. This is the Knighthood Boss fight. Now, it's got some really, really cool animations. I love the background of this. Every part of it looks so good, and you can use 4 heroes at a time in this. So this is the extreme difficulty, I believe. There's one higher difficulty than this, but this one already took long enough for me to beat. So I just want to show kind of this whole fight to talk about it, just because I think it looks really, really good, and it's a good showcase of what the animation looks like in this game. But for the most part, I need to really look for some type of purge team where I can get at least one unit that has buff purges against the other team, and also some defense down would be really nice, especially if I can get another one to buff Purgatory for extra attack as well. There's many things that I need to do to upgrade my team. I could swap out Goddess Elizabeth, keep Gauther of course for the skill rank up because I like the additive clear rate he gives, but having somebody that could do a lot of buff and debuffs for the other team would be the most beneficial thing for me to look for right now. So as time goes on and I look through the actual heroes a lot more, I will have a lot more options. I've just been kind of focusing on doing one team, working that team up a little bit, and just showing, you know, what it's capable of doing. Now, most of them don't really do damage. They're more so there just to keep Purgatory alive. Do I necessarily need them to do that right now? Probably not. He's extremely tanky. He heals after each turn. He's very tough to deal with. It takes a really, really hard-hitting boss to take him out. But I'm going to let this finish and stop talking over so much so you can see kind of what it looks like. Alright, so we're on to what is called the Labyrinth. Now, I really like the setup of this one, because instead of using your regular heroes, you have to choose from a limited hero pool. Now, you can re-roll these if you have the points that you earn from the battles, stuff that you get through the Labyrinth, but you're basically building a team. You get options each time to choose certain aspects. It just depends on what path you take. And where you're going to pick next. So I could go to one that has an option between a fight and an awakening. As you can see here, I have an awakening and a level up. So what I choose is basically the awakening, because it seems like probably overall I'm going to get a lot more stats in the long run, because I do level up through the regular fights. Now, I'm not going to make the best decisions because I don't really know the best options here, but this is the final boss of the first floor. Now, it has, I'm not sure how many floors, because I beat the first one and then went to do some of the other content after that, but it's a really cool setup, and it makes it a lot harder because you're having to build a team with limited options and kind of figure out the best way to go through it. Now, I chose Bon at the start because he has lifesteal on this version, so I thought maybe I could do that to keep him alive. He also steals some of the attack and defense from the enemy, so it'll make him a little harder to deal with, but he gets taken out anyway by the boss. The boss does hit really hard. Hauser's been really nice for his stance. Anytime an ally gets attacked, he will counterattack. And then I tried to use, I always forget his name, but the guy with the, looks like he has little maracas, use him to defense down. But anyway, guys, that's all I'm going to talk about on this one. This one went really far in. I didn't mean to do this long. I tried to cut this one down a decent amount, but this is what my team looks like currently. I still have a long way to go, and hopefully I can do a decent amount in this next week to give you an overall look in the finale. But anyway, guys, this has been The Last Musketeer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.